There we are. Good morning, friends, and welcome to another episode of PB Reads the Bible. I'm PB. I'm Pastor Brian, pastor here at Christ United Methodist Church, and it is wonderful that we're able to get together today. Thank you for joining me in our small group, because that's what this is. This is a small group that gathers together, shares life together, and we gather in this way, this format, using pretty amazing technology. Blows me away every time. Facebook, YouTube, and our website. And I know that some folks are joined from each of those things, at least from time to time. But we're together. Thank you. I love it. And this is that time when we gather together, read the Bible. I read, you follow along in yours, or just listen. And then I share some stuff to try to open it up a little bit so we understand it a little bit better as far as what's going on, what's taking place, and all that stuff. Good. Needed a sip of water there. I see some folks are already doing it. Please keep doing it. Check in. Let me know that you're there, even if you're not able to join us live, because I know some folks can't join us live. You join us at other times of the day, afternoon, evening, and all that stuff. So for me, it's Tuesday, November 28th, and it's 9:02 a.m. But for you, it could be some other day or time. And that's also awesome. And even if it is, check in, leave a little comment and let me know you're there. Because I do go back in a couple times today and probably tomorrow and even on Thursday. Excuse me. Just to see what kind of comments you're making, because also do that with questions. If you have a question or a comment that you want to share, go ahead and do it. And I'll do my best to answer it. Sometimes I don't see it right away, but that's why I go back in and check things out. Good morning, Maureen. Good to have you with us. And Marilyn, present. Wonderful, Marilyn. That's great. And I heard from Ron, my brother Ron, that he's joining us via the website. Hi, Ron. He's all caught up, and he wishes to extend his greetings and says, tell everyone I said good morning. So good morning from Ron. This is great. I love this stuff. Oh, yeah. So, today is Tuesday, the 28th of November, and we are currently working through Second Kings. And in case you missed it, the last session we did, which was a full week ago, we did 2 chapters that day because they split the chapters in the wrong spot, and we wanted to finish off that story. But today we're just going to do 1 chapter, even though it's relatively short. We're going to do just chapter 8 today. We will be back at this on Thursday, which is the 30th of November. We will be back on Thursday. Oops, I need to turn that off for a moment. Sorry about that, friends. Yes, November 30th. So we'll be back at this on Thursday. But let's get through today first, right? Check-ins is great. Also, let me know what's on your hearts and minds, because since we share life together as a small group, we share each other's joys and concerns. Like Paul writes, rejoice when others rejoice and cry when others cry. So we do that, and we keep those things in our prayers. So let us know what those are. I'm going to go ahead and pray anyway. I'm going to go ahead and pray, even if you haven't put anything up yet. And then folks read those comments, and we can keep each other surrounded in prayer throughout the week. Gracious, amazing God, give you thanks for this day and for this chance to gather together in this small group in this fashion. Of course, our number is always increased by 1 because you are always with us. We lift to you all of our joys and concerns, everything that's on our hearts and our minds. Ask for healing, ask for answers, and offer praise all at the same time. And now that we have done that, God, we ask that you'll give us peace, that you will help us to keep all the concerns of the world, the concerns of our lives, and the concerns of our days at bay, so that we can truly be present and concentrate on what we're doing today, reading from the Bible. trying to learn more about you and about our place in the world. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Okay, friends. So we are on, I don't know if that tells you. Oh, okay. We are on chapter 8 of 2 Kings. And it's a couple different stories, like 3 different things that will be taking place. So we'll, first things first, right? But before I read, the first one is verses 1 through 6. And just as a reminder, this involves the woman from Shunem. That was the one who Elisha gave her son life, actually twice, right? Because at first she didn't have a child. Then he paved the way, we shall say. He was the miracle worker. God, of course, was a miracle worker, you know what I mean? And gave her a son. And then when her son died, she ran to Elisha and wouldn't give in until he came to the house and brought the boy back to life, brought the child back to life. So we're revisiting her character. Just as a reminder or two about her, the original story about her from a few chapters ago certainly seems to indicate that she is wealthy family anyway, and property holder and all that stuff, right? And Elisha had said, had even offered about being an intermediary between her and the king, being a political weighing in, using his position to seek favor for the woman. And she said, I don't need that. I'm in good shape. So we're going to return to her story. Time has passed. We don't know how much. Now Elisha had said to the woman whose son he had restored to life, get up and go with your household and settle wherever you call, wherever you can, for Yahweh has called for a famine, and it will come on the land for 7 years. So the woman got up and did according to the word of the man of God. She went with her household and settled in the land of the Philistines 7 years. Pause. So this seems to be a very regional famine rather than a full widespread one. And it seems to be different than earlier famines, than other famines that have been mentioned. This is completely different, at least based, that's what we think, right? And very regional, because she only had to move from Shunem to the land of the Philistines, not too terribly far, but things apparently were still good there, and she stayed there for 7 years. At the end of the 7 years, when the woman returned from the land of the Philistines, she set out to appeal to the king for her house and her land. Pause again. Couple things might have happened. We don't know what happened. Obviously, it doesn't say. The author, the editor, didn't think that was super important. Good morning, John and Cindy. Sorry about that. Almost missed you. Doesn't seem to think that it's super important to know why, but apparently she has lost her home and her property. Could be a couple different things. Could be the neighbors took over while she, in her absence. Could be because, since it's only speaking about her, we presume that her husband has passed away. So perhaps a male relative came and took possession of the land in her absence. And could be the king took over the land in her absence for a variety of different reasons. Of course, that could have happened. Could have been because to settle a debt. Could be because nobody's living there right now, so I want it, kind of thing. It's good to be the king. So she goes to the king. She makes her way to the king, is what it says. Now, picking up from there, verse 4. Now the king was talking with Gehazi, the servant of the man of God, saying, tell me all the great things that Elisha has done. Pause. So we're not told which king this is. We're not told which king this is, but apparently this is one of the kings of this king and this is Israel, the northern kingdom, this king seems to kind of like Elisha, loves hearing the stories about Elisha. We don't know if he's ever even met Elisha, but perhaps the next best thing is to talk to Elisha's servant and get from him, like firsthand, some of the amazing things that Elisha has done. That's cool. That's cool. So picking up from there. While he, Gehazi, was telling the king how Elisha had restored a dead person to life, the woman whose son he had restored to life appealed to the king for her house and her land. Gehazi said, "My lord king, here is the woman, and here is her son, whom Elisha restored to life." When the king questioned the woman, she told him. So the king appointed an official for her, saying, "Restore all that was hers, together with all the revenue of the fields from the day that she left the land until now." Pause. So, in a way, Elisha did the very thing that he had offered to do years before, a political influence, right? Use his influence to garner favor for her. But she'd kind of, you would say she does it on her own, but Elisha is involved. The fact that this king likes Elisha, loves these wonderful stories, and that Elisha has done this miracle for this woman, actually two miracles, right? The pregnancy in the first place, and then restoring the child to life. And it's because of this, because of the king's friendly feelings toward Elisha and the power that Elisha has shown with this woman, he's willing to do anything that the woman wants. Say, yeah, let's give her back her land. Maybe the king had it, so it made it easy. If not, he has assigned an officer of one of his top hands, so to speak, top administrators, to handle this situation. Not only is she going to get back her land and her home that she wanted, he is going the extra step and say, hey, anything that this land has made over the whole time that she's been gone, give it to her. Nice, right? Okay. Continuing. Now Elisha is back in the story. Elisha went to Damascus. Damascus is in Syria, so it's outside of Israel. While King Ben-Hadad of Aram was ill, when it was told him, "The man of God has come here," the king said to Hazael, "Take a present with you and go to meet the man of God. Inquire of Yahweh through him whether I shall recover from this illness." So Hazael went to meet him, taking a present with him, all kinds of goods of Damascus, 40 camel loads. When he entered and stood before him, he said, "Your son, King Ben-Hadad of Aram, has sent me to you, saying, 'Shall I recover from this illness?'" Elisha said to him, "Go, say to him, 'You shall certainly recover.' But Yahweh has shown me that he shall certainly die." He fixed his gaze and stared at him until he was ashamed. Then the man of God wept. Hazael asked, "Why does my Lord weep?" He answered, "Because I know the evil that you will do to the people of Israel. You will set their fortresses on fire. You will kill their young men with the sword, dash in pieces their little ones, and rip up their pregnant women." Hazael said, "What is your servant, who is a mere dog, that he should do this great thing?" Elisha answered, "Yahweh has shown me that you are to be king over Aram." Then he left Elisha and went to his master Ben-Hadad, who said to him, "What did Elisha say to you?" And he answered, "He told me that you would certainly recover." But the next day he took the bed cover and dipped it in water and spread it over the king's face until he died. And Hazael succeeded him. Pause. Okay, so we're not sure which Ben-Hadad, because there were several, right? Is ill, sick, wants to know if he's going to die or not. Interesting. that this foreigner wants to use Elisha to speak to Yahweh, when one of the kings of Israel, and I can't remember which one his name was now, might have rather than seeking counsel, an oracle from Yahweh, sought an oracle from Baal, right? So this guy is doing the opposite. Oh, and if I just looked here in my notes, and it was Ahaziah. So this foreigner is doing what Ahaziah should have done, seeking counsel from Yahweh. Now, the Hebrew here is difficult, tricky, complicated, and confusing. The NIV and the NRSV both say that Elisha tells Hazael, "Go tell the king he will recover. But the Lord has shown me that he shall certainly die." The Hebrew is very confusing. And it's usually translated that he says, tell him he's going to be okay. But the Hebrew also can say, don't say that, because the Lord has shown me that he will die. It's tricky, because translating it the way it's translated looks like Elisha is participating in a subterfuge and is lying and is telling Hazael to lie, which doesn't seem like Elisha's character would ask that or do that. So that other translation of "don't tell him he's going to be okay, because Yahweh has told me he won't." But then Hazael does say that he's going to be okay. Now, Hazael is shown here as the usurper of the throne, because he's not really next. I mean, he's not next in line. We don't know. Maybe Ben-Hadad didn't have any kids or something. But Hazael, rather than waiting for the illness to take its course, pardon me, perhaps he wasn't 100% sure that Elisha was right, was telling him the truth. Perhaps he wasn't sure that Yahweh was going to make sure that Ben-Hadad died as a result of his illness. And so he acts. He acts, and he takes a bed cover, and dips it in water. This is weird, but it's almost like so he puts that over his face. Does he drown? Does he suffocate? Is it a combination of both? I'm picturing, the water torture that they do, with the dripping of water and pouring of water through a cloth into a person's mouth and nose. And he takes it obviously to the extreme, and he succeeds him. This is actually the fulfillment of the direction from God to Elijah, that he was going to go to Aram and make a king there. Elijah never directly did, but Elisha, who was not anointed, but was a disciple of Elijah, and given the mantle of responsibility that Elijah had and was his successor, he carries out the ultimate fulfillment of that mission. All right. So back to the kings. We're away now from, the rest of the chapter, Elisha isn't there. All right. So, and this is going to get confusing, because both kings are very, very closely named. In the 5th year of King Joram, son of Ahab of Israel, Jehoram, son of King Jehoshaphat of Judah, began to reign. He was 32 years old when he became king, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. He walked in the way of the kings of Israel, as the house of Ahab had done, for the daughter of Ahab was his wife. He did what was evil in the sight of Yahweh, yet Yahweh would not destroy Judah for the sake of his servant David. since he had promised to give a lamp to him and to his descendants forever. In his days, Edom revolted against the rule of Judah and set up a king of their own. Then Joram crossed over to Zair with all his chariots. He set out by night and attacked the Edomites and their chariot commanders who had surrounded him, but his army fled home. So Edom has been in revolt against the rule of Judah to this day. Libnah also revolted at the same time. Now the rest of the acts of Joram and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Judah? So Joram slept with his ancestors and was buried with them in the city of David. His son Ahaziah succeeded him. Pause. See, I told you it was confusing because it starts off by saying that his name is Jehoram, but then later he's called Joram, which is the same name as the king of Israel. But when it says Joram is crossing over the Jordan and is doing this, they're talking about Jehoram, the king of Judah, not the king of Israel. But it gets confusing. We're back to one of those brief statements, though, right? It's only a couple paragraphs, only like 9 verses, 10 verses, whatever it is, 9 verses about this guy. He doesn't deserve a lot of speech. What is being pointed out is his failure to follow Yahweh. And why does it happen? Excuse me. Well, the editor wants to make sure we understand it's because of the influence of Israel, in particular the influence of Ahab's daughter, who becomes Joram's wife. Very similar to what happened with Solomon, that he was led astray and was worshiping the other gods. Picking up from there, in the 12th year of King Joram, son of Ahab of Israel, Ahaziah, son of King Jehoram of Judah, began to reign. Ahaziah was 22 years old when he began to reign. He reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Athaliah, a granddaughter of King Omri of Israel. He also walked in the way of the house of Ahab, doing what was evil in the sight of Yahweh, as the house of Ahab had done, for he was son-in-law to the house of Ahab. Pause. And again, pointing out, very, very brief about this guy, although he only reigned for a year. But the biggest thing is his disloyalty to God. He went with Joram, son of Ahab, to wage war against King Hazael of Aram at Ramoth Gilead, where the Arameans wounded Joram. King Joram returned to be healed in Jezreel of the wounds that the Arameans had inflicted on him at Ramah, when he had fought against King Hazael of Aram. King Ahaziah, son of Jehoram of Judah, went down to see Joram, son of Ahab, in Jezreel, because he was wounded. Pause. End of chapter 8. So we see this connection between the two kingdoms, the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom, through marriage, probably politically expedient marriages and ways of kind of having control over each other, especially the northern kingdom, since they seem to be the more powerful militarily, right? And so we've got these politically expedient marriages, presumably for peace and power being done. But as a result, the kings of Judah, although they won't be the first ones that haven't been good and obedient, they are now becoming almost like Israel's kings, almost like Ahab, following, and it's being very specific, that you're following in the ways of the house of Ahab. Well, my friends, that's all I have for you this morning. I pray that this has been beneficial, that you've learned something, relearned something. Again, we will be back at this on Thursday, November 30th at 9 o'clock. I have nothing on my calendar other than being with you, at which time, of course, we'll talk about Sunday worship and stuff, which is a new worship series. If you haven't done so yet, check out the video showing it. It is on Facebook. It is on Facebook on my page and on the church's page. That gives a little teaser about our worship series coming up. All right, my friends. Again, as you go about your days, not just today, but every day, keep those eyes and ears, physical and spiritual, open to everything that God, living, loving, active God, is doing in your life and in the lives of those around you. When you see it, when you hear it, say, thank you, and then tell somebody about it. Until we meet again, my friends, be blessed.